What is going on YouTube? K93 here with a remastered version of my Korean Backaround tutorial. The Korean Backaround is also synonymous with back, spelled B-A-K, and I believe is also synonymous with the fingerless around reverse, or bust reverse. So there's many different names for this trick, but it's a very popular trick nonetheless, so there's that. In this tutorial, I will be referring to it as a back, B-A-K, again, simple, shorter to say, etc. And I just wanted to say that even though there are 4 different backs that are the index, mid back, ring back, pinky back, I will only be going over the index back and the mid back in this tutorial because for the sake of time, obviously it takes a lot shorter to teach 2 tricks rather than 4. And I do have slow-mos for the ring and pinky back. Even though they are a little bit sloppy, I still think they will suffice. And also the knowledge that you gain from learning the index back and the mid back should be enough to help carry you guys over to the ring back and the pinky back. So with that kind of disclaimer out of the way, let's get on to the tutorial. So the index back looks like this. And we'll get to the mid back when we get to that. So that's when that slow-mo will be. So if you guys haven't watched my normal Backaround video, which is the tutorial I released just prior to this, go ahead and check that out. It will give you guys a little bit of background knowledge in terms of kind of the logistics of how the trick works, because the Backaround and the Korean Backaround, as you guys can imagine, are similarly named for a reason. The trick, at least in my mind, those two are identical. The only difference between them is where on the finger you do them. So I mentioned in my Backaround tutorial that the Backaround is done normally near the base of the finger slot here. So notice how the pen is like down almost to like, I guess where webbing would be if I was a frog or something. But the Korean Backaround, again, the back, is more so done at the tip of the fingers. But the motion is very much the same. The pen still goes around your finger, at least in the index back, in a fingerless fashion. You push it, you release, push, and then catch. But during after the push, well, between the push and the catch, you don't really interact with it at all. The pen's just kind of freely flowing around your finger. So if you've learned the regular Backaround, the Korean Backaround should be relatively easy. So with that being said, another way to think about this trick, as I mentioned at the beginning of this tutorial, it can also be thought of as a fingerless around reverse. So if that helps you figure out this trick any easier, then feel free to think of it that way rather than the way I'm teaching it. But I'm just going to teach it the way I know how to best. So look at the slow-mos. Those would be helpful. I think the slow-mos for the index back and the ring back are the mid back are the best ones that I did. So those should be relatively helpful. And again, hopefully you can take that knowledge and transfer it to the ring and pinky backs. But as with any around-based trick, you want to have most of the pen out in one direction. In this case, since we are going in a clockwise motion if you're right-handed, and the opposite is true, obviously, if you're left-handed. Since the pen is going spinning in this type of direction, we want the majority of the weight and length of the pen to be out away from us. And that's because, obviously, when the pen is spinning around your index finger, the weight is not only going to redistribute a lot easier, but, your finger is going to take up some space, quote-unquote, as it's going around the pen. So it's a very simple concept that we learned when learning the thumb around. Same applies here. So again, consult my Backaround tutorial if this isn't clear enough. But with the index back, if you're starting off with just stand still as I am here, I kind of hold it like this. So thumb pinched here, index finger here, and then ring or middle finger like that. So I am holding it kind of tightly rather. And at least if you're using a pen to RSVP, I'm gripping it around the top of the grip anyway. But the motion that you're going to do is, well, first of all, we have to release it. I should go over that first, obviously. Releasing the pen, so releasing is you let your thumb go, so you can move it whichever direction you want. I think I just move it down like that. Get your thumb out of the way. And as you can already kind of see there, the pen wants to go in that direction just due to gravity. But the pen's going to want to go this way. And as you release your thumb, you want to do like this sort of motion. So this sort of motion, I've tried to describe when I did this tutorial before, and then I deleted it because it was really awful. But you want to do a combination of turning your hand over. So note that your hand's palm up here, and I'm describing a motion that goes palm down like this. But it's not just a direct twist, you know? There's a difference because this is just turning your wrist straight up, but I'm more so doing this. So just kind of trace the tip of my index finger. It's kind of going in an arc shape. And that's the kind of motion you want to do because that is going to help the back go around your finger. So if it helps, look at the slow-mo and just trace the tip of my index finger, and just kind of trace the motion that goes, because that is the motion that dominates and dictates how the pen goes. So again, you're holding your palm kind of palm up, kind of palm side, and then you just kind of want to push down, you know, like that. So you are turning your wrist, but you're also making your index finger go in like an arc shape. So kind of like that. When you get that down, you know, obviously you do that by itself, or you can just put the pen in and then just kind of do that motion. And then you can practice that, you know, because that I think is helpful in letting you kind of learn how much force you need behind pushing the pen. Because the faster you do that, you know, you could do something like that, or you just like go like that and then it flies off in some random direction. So just kind of getting used to the speed and the force that you need to apply to the pen as you're turning your wrist over and making your index finger go in that little arc. Learning that is key to this trick, and you can just practice doing that. Now, when you're doing this little practice drill, I'm purposefully not catching it, by the way. Make sure that the pen lands like right here, like every time. The reason is because like most times in other tutorials, when I mention, oh, do this little drill and if the pen lands in this general area, you're okay. The reason why that's not so much the case here as it has to land like right like here is because that's the only way you're going to be able to catch it. Because obviously if you like do that, for example, you can't catch the pen when it's over there. If the pen somehow, I don't even know how you would do this, but if the pen flies like towards you, I guess kind of like that, that's not good either. The pen pretty much has to go all the way around your index finger for it to land here in front of your hand. So that is why I suggest when you do that drill, you make sure it lands like immediately in front of your hand. I guess it could go a little bit further if it rolls, but like you want it to generally be like right in front of your hand when you do it, because that means the pen again is almost doing a complete around. And when you do that, you know, once you feel like you're ready to catch it, the only thing is really noticing that like, oh, it's kind of there, so you just kind of catch it. So that's the theory and philosophy behind the index back. So there's that. Now we're going to move on to the mid back, which is slightly different. The only real difference is the starting position of the mid back compared to the index back. So this is what the mid back looks like. And again, the only real difference is the starting position. So instead of gripping it like this with your thumb, index, and middle finger, you're going to shift it so that like your index finger is kind of acting like how your thumb was for the other trick, right? So just kind of look at where the fingers are. They just kind of shift down the hand. And of course, if you're doing ring back, you'd be like that. Doing the pinky back is a little bit more difficult because you're just holding it like this. And obviously there's no other finger behind it that's supporting it. Hold the pen like this, and the motion is pretty much the same. You know, you're still holding your hand right now as it is, more so palm up or palm side. And, you know, the release of the pen in this case is you dropping your index finger a little bit. So when you drop your index finger a little bit, you know, the pen spins a little bit that way, which is good. And again, you want to kind of do that motion where you turn your wrist over or turn your hand over and make a little arc with your middle finger. And you can practice the same exact drill. You know, you go like this. I caught it there when I didn't mean to, ironically. You do that motion, and then you can just make sure the pen lands, like, or at least goes around your middle finger. If the pen is, you know, flying off like that, obviously that's not good. So you want to make sure that the pen is at least, that was also a bad example. Well, I guess it was a good counter example. Anyway, when you're doing the mid back and also the ring back, which is very similar, if not identical to the mid back, just make sure the pen is going around your middle finger entirely. Like sometimes, like you've already seen me do it like once or twice maybe here, is that the pen will spin this. Well, that's really bad. It'll spin, and then it'll like go like this direction, which is like kind of stretching in terms of like how well I want you guys to try to practice doing it. Again, if the pen falls like directly in front of your hand, that's good. Again, that's just because it lets you know that Like that was a bad example. It lets you know that the pen was going around your middle finger. Now, if you guys kind of looked at what I just did there, that was bad because what the pen did there was it went like this. It went around halfway and then it just slid off like this way. That's not good because you want to at least go around once. So that was kind of okay. And that was obviously like some weird shadow thingy that I didn't try to do. But just like in the index back, in the mid back, once you're done practicing that, and again, I'm having trouble with doing this, but you just got to realize that the pen is there and you just kind of clamp down on it. If you do this properly, like if you do that kind of turning over motion well enough, and if you keep your hand more like flat rather than like tilting it up or tilting it down or side to side or whatever you want to do, if you keep your hand relatively flat, the pen will be spinning in more so a flat plane on top of your hand. So I'm going to try to do this the best I can. But let's say you kind of turn your hand over, right? The pen should be spinning like this. And if you keep your hand flat, the pen will be spinning flat, right? It will be spinning on like this flat plane here. Again, your hand is kind of flat here, right? So when you are like this, the pen's going to spin and it really has nowhere else to go besides like right there where you can catch it. So, you can practice that drill. And if you do it, like that was a really good example. That was a really bad example. Too much force, too little force. I'm just all over the place today. Also too little force. Like the pen will be spinning like here, and you'll already be ready to catch it there. So that's how the mid back works. And again, you can transfer this knowledge down the hand to the ring back, like that. And the pinky back is a little bit different because again, you're just kind of holding it like this, but you're still turning your wrist over. You're still turning your wrist over. You're still making an arc with your finger. And if my luck presses, nope, not even gonna try it anymore. But trust me, it is doable. I've done it with this RSVP, even though it is not ideal, which is why, that's why my slow-mos are so bad for those tricks, and I do apologize. But based on the time crunch, I couldn't really film anything better, so hope you guys can forgive me. But anyway, that will do it for this tutorial on the Korean Backaround, otherwise known as the back, otherwise known as the fingerless around reverse or a bust reverse. So yeah, that'll do it for this trick. Again, look at these slow-mos in case you guys are having trouble, and yeah, that'll do it. So if you guys haven't already, please feel free to like, comment, and subscribe for more in the future, and I'll see you guys in the next video.